We were halfway through our trip to Ghana, and we decided to really turn things up in Kamasi. Our day began at the Ghanaian Armed Forces Museum. All right, folks, so we're at the Ghanaian Armed Forces Museum. Peter says this is the only one in the whole country. Unlike the United States, where we got military stuff all over the place. Where we got a chance to learn about the role that Ghana played in a number of previous wars. So what you're saying is, y'all kicked the British ass right here.
Yep.
Good. Okay. That's the short version. That's the short version of this. British came, won the stew, whooped their ass, they went home. Okay, cool.
So we start. Well, I'll start by the building. This compound where we are at the moment. The first going about the 1900 war. The Asantua War, or should I say the War of the Golden Stool. That was when Elko was talking about when Nana Asantua led the Ashantis to fight the British. That became the last war between the British and the Ashantis. And it happened right here on this compound. With the British, the Europeans inside this fort, with the Ashantis and their troops all over laying the siege around the building. Now that was what the fight was about. You know, the British and their usual strategy, they had weapons, they had the guns, and then the ammunition to fight the blacks. The blacks were using the spears, the arrows, and the stones, and their little wisdom that they had by pulling the trees around the fort, making the white man shoot his bullets, and wasting it. Yes, that was one strategy of Nana Asantua and the Ashantis. Yes, and eventually after about 4 months of fighting, the war was over. Now this building was originally constructed in 1820 by an Ashanti chief called Osetutu Kwame Nabonsu. He saw the castles and the forts that the Europeans were living in, and upon seeing them, he decided to live in one. That is why we see this fort here in Kamasi. Please come inside. So, you know, these people, these local people that the British came and the Europeans came to meet along the coast, they started training them as soldiers. You know, the Ashantis were conquering their neighboring states, and these neighboring states were running to the British for cover or for protection. So that was how the British got the opportunity and the authority over the local people. So these local people run to them, protect us from the Ashantis. They are coming to kill us, they are coming to take our land, so please protect us. And these British, these Europeans took it upon themselves to seize power and then to rule the local people. And that was when the colonialism started. I know it had started already, but that was when they started to go. So these people, these black people that this Europeans trained, they started using them as soldiers. Originally they were called the Gold Coast Regiment. Before they were transformed into become the West African Frontier Force, and it was this West African Frontier Force that the British used to fight their world wars. So the First World War was from 1914 to 1918 against the Germans in Togo, Cameroon, and Rwanda. And in the Second World War, these soldiers fought against the Italians in East Africa and the Japanese in Burma, now called Myanmar. So in this case, we have some buttons that was displayed in the uniform of the Gold Coast soldiers. We have cap badges and then shoulder titles. You can see the GCR, the Gold Coast Regiment, the West African Frontier Force. We also have some ceremonial swords here. You know, these swords are a symbol of authority to military commanders. You have two from traditional Abyssinian soldiers, 3 or 5 swords from Italian officers, and the last one, a German sword. So this is the condemned cell. I told you after the 1900 war, there was a Secretary Commander of the Ashanti troop, Nanaya Santua, and when she was captured, after she had surrendered, the British brought her into this cell. But yeah, okay, I'll come to you anymore after that. I by inside. Okay. Yeah. So, Nanaya Santua was kept in the room of 10 to my right.
Wait, 10 people where?
In here. And then go on in there. 1, 2.
And if you were stubborn, you'll be chained to the pillar.
Oh, wow. Oh, Lord. Oh, wow. So wait, it's 3 of us right now.
Oh, wow.
How many people? 10 people in here.
Yeah.
Roland. Where Roland at?
They put 10 in here?
10, and you don't come out till you die.
And you eat him, you poop him.
Oh my God.
So what was the purpose of feeding them?
No, you come here as a prisoner of war, so definitely you might be tortured before being brought inside here.
So they put 10 in here until they died. Now is this okay? They're standing outside. So the speech the Queen gave, they put her in here.
Yeah, exactly where you are.
So they put her in here, and she died in here.
But she did not die here. She was among the few people who survived this cell.
Wow.
Wow, she had a strong spirit.
She survived because
Did you see that speech she gave?
she survived because she was given somehow some royal treatment because she was the queen, and they really respected her for her courage and for what she did to the British. So they did not really want to kill her, but rather know more about her. So after some weeks here, she was exiled to Seychelles Island.
10.
Can you imagine?
And one
With the door shut. No, nothing.
That is brutal.
After our tour of the Armed Forces Museum, we then could not help but walk across the street where a group of vendors were located to get in some good shopping. And of course, I ran into some folks who recognized me from television.
All right. All right, cool.
Thank you.
All right,
Nice
good to
to
meet
meet
you.
you.
You take care.
All right, will do.
I got it. I know. Black and gold. What size you have now? Okay. I got you. Brown or black?
As for the shopping, it was always great to have my Ghanaian crew handle the negotiations. We then begin to drive around Kamasi, which is the capital city of the Ashanti region. The one thing about Kamasi is that it is the center of trade in Ghana. Our next stop was the Kamfo Anoche Teaching Hospital in Kamasi, where the Kamfo Anoche sword site is located, which is a significant place for the Ashantis. The sword site is where a 333-year-old sword is literally wedged in a rock, unable to be removed. The story and the history of this place is fascinating.
Where Asante is a corrupted word from the phrase Esa, meaning because of war.
So Asante, which we call Ashanti. It's Asante, not Ashanti. Got it. So, okay, just so we're straight. When we talk about this being the birthplace of the Asante, this is where the group of Akan. This is where those different groups came together. They said, yo, we got a band together. And so, this was right here was where, this was where, this was the birthplace of the Asante team. Got it. You're saying so when Muhammad Ali came here, he tried tried to pull the sword out the rock, and it didn't work.
Yeah, so, but if it's a sacred sword, why would y'all let him attempt to do that?
Because he
I
don't know how
told
to
you that. No, not because you are Muhammad. The people who have before then, there were a lot of people who have been trying to remove it. I mentioned his name because he's the person you know. You know, when they were coming to construct the hospital, I told you, when they found the sword, they thought it was gold. And they tried to excavate it. And they were not able to do that. So they were telling people, and note this, the chiefs never know that it will be difficult for somebody to break the sword out there before. So when they got to know that, they decided to leave it like that. And a lot of people were also thinking that it was one of the wonderful things that the priest did in his time. So people come here and they say, oh, Anoche did a lot of wonders, and this is one of them, and they want to try to remove it. Okay. So I thank you for coming.
It's part of the prophecy. It's part of the prophecy. This reminds you of the prophecy that fulfilled.
You ever try to pull it?
No. Thank you very much for coming.
No, you'll strike him down.
We have this Facebook, and you can also write on Pt.5 and on the Facebook page as well.
Wow.
Who put the Bibles down there?
That's why they
I know. Did they do that or somebody else visited it?
somebody coming with the chickens already.
How you see the
That's
best?
crazy.
Get there. Let me get my blessing.
That is crazy.
We then ventured to the Kamasi Center for National Culture, the first cultural center in sub-Sahara Africa.
This is the oldest one in West Africa.
Oldest one in West Africa, if not Africa, and it was established in 1951.
Okay.
6 years before Ghana's independence. To preserve, protect, promote, and project our cultural heritage in all its forms. And then we have the museum that talks about the history of the people. We have the performing arts department that has to do with, folk dance, drama and all these stuff. And then the visual arts where they engage in handicrafts, like kinte, pottery, ceramics, wood carving, metalworks, gold weights and stuff like that. And then we have the administration department as well. So now we're going to visit the museum, which is the oldest one in Ghana. This cultural center could not have been established without the support of the king then. When Dr. Chemartin told the king what the idea that he had, here the lands are owned by the king. So the king said, wow, this is a brilliant thing.
Right.
So please take this big land. We'll support you to build a cultural center. So this museum was built 25 years of his reign. It was in his silver
Because he died in 1970.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he was crowned in 1931. 1931 as the king. He reigned for 39 years.
And that's the thing for people to understand. So when you said this was the land was given by the king, so when people the grant even before Ghana was created, what you have here is you have this combination of government, of leadership between these kingdoms, these tribes, and then the government when it comes to land.
Yes.
Like in the United States, the government controls the land, and then of course if it's sold, private folks as well. It's a whole different deal here, where you sort of have these chiefs who are in control of the land in areas.
Our system was quite different from what pertained in Europe or in America. Before the Europeans, we were organized. We had a very centralized system of government where each of these states were ruled by the chiefs and the elders. So they had their own territorial control. So eventually when the British came, they recognized this, and so they incorporated it into their governance system. And then later on, when they designed the constitution, they realized that indeed the local people had been established already, like Asantes, the Fantis, the Northern Territory. And
they were already organized.
Yes, so they must have their lands and things like that. So indeed, that is also enshrined in the constitution of Ghana. However, the government can decide to take a land for development for the good of the people. Even in this case, the government must seek or solicit with the chief in this case for the land to be given.
So there has been negotiation between the government and the chief.
Exactly, yeah. However, the constitution also makes it that if a mineral resource is discovered in the land, That one is for the benefit of the entire country.
So, but just like,
however, the chief on whose land such a mineral resource is discovered takes a royalty.
So we have basically what you're talking about. If the government decides for good of the people, we have eminent domain, where the government can take control of property.
Of course.
Yeah, got it.
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's go.
But before we could go on the tour, I happened to run into the mayor of Kamasi. So why not have a quick interview?
How you doing?
Roland.
I'm fine.
Roland Martin.
I'm
CNN.
You're the mayor of the city?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Okay. How long you been the mayor?
Almost 3 years.
Almost 3 years. All right. So what's your vision for the city?
One is to decongest the city. Talking about decongestion, it has to be in two ways. You have the vehicular congestion and the human congestion. So how do you tackle the vehicular congestion? Now we want to build up high-rising car park so that we move all the cars that are parked within the city outside. So people will have to park and come into the city with cars.
Gotcha.
Then the second one is about...
So basically you want to have some of the outlying parking areas so you don't have all these cars in. Because you also got a smaller problem.
The basic problem is that of congestion.
Yep.
Congestion in the sense that we are in the middle belt. We are in the middle of the country. And because of that, we attract daily a lot of people into the city. Every day we attract not less than 1.5 million people into the city.
Now how many people live in the city?
You see, the whole region population is about 5.4.
That's the region.
The region. But the city, Kamasi, the population is about 3 million. So every day, if the transit population is added, it's 4.5 million.
So you have 3 million residents of Kamasi.
Yes.
But another 1.5 million come in.
Come in.
Wow.
3 million in Kamasi, 1.5 million come in daily.
Wow.
So Kamasi is a business center.
Now,
that is why we've been able to build up the new edifice that you see. If you have not visited there, you have to go there. In West Africa,
that colorful top one right there?
It's one of the most modern market that has been built.
It's a market?
Yes, a market that has been built. It's the first phase. So we are operationalizing it with effect from January, meaning that we will move away all those who are selling on the streets, around the street, we are moving them in. This is just the first phase. So I've talked about the vehicular one, and I've talked about the human one.
Now I gotta ask you. So you're moving them because for you, it's too many people on these corners and all over the place.
All over the place, but now we are providing them a place for them to do business.
So when someone comes to town versus that little spot, that spot, what you're saying is come to a main market center.
Come to a main market and sell. You see, that is not going to be the only way. We are also coming out. We are also coming out with satellite markets. So currently, there are 2 satellite markets that are almost ready, because that is going to take care of the petty traders. Because here is going to be a shop. Yes, we have 8,042 shops. But those who are selling on tables,
hold up, that'll hold 8,042 shops. That's a big mall.
It's very big one. Very, very big one. But those who are selling on tables outnumber that. So they are going to be moved into the satellite market.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they are going to be moved into the satellite market. Once that is done, we've solved 2 problems. The third one that you mentioned is that of the environmental. Kamasi used to be the garden city of West Africa. But 50 years ago, the whole of West Africa, in terms of landscaping, trees and others, Kamasi tops all. But now we've lost them. But we don't want to stay at where we are now. We want to recapture our past glory. So now if we launch operation, keep the city clean and green. So now we are planting trees. Then we are embarking on the education about how to keep the city clean. So that is the reason why even this year, our city won the international prize of over $400,000. It was a sanitation contest. It tells you how we are poised to achieve that. So by next year that you will come and see a lot of changes when it comes to that of the environment.
Cool.
That comes to the environment. Again, our city is older than the nation Ghana. Kamasi is more than 340 years old. So it's like an old lady. When the lady grows, then it means that you need a lot of makeups to still keep the beautiful face alive. So now we want to do housing regeneration. We want to do housing regeneration. But there are a lot of important areas where now the housing there has outlived its usefulness. So the housing generation is going to solve that problem.
Okay.
Then we are also going to try and move the long vehicles to the outskirts of the city.
Gotcha.
So that at least the cars coming in, we will solve that problem.
Okay.
We are a town of culture and tourism. Culture and tourism. Therefore, we need to improve upon this area. We want to improve upon this area. We want to put up a lot of infrastructures to make tourism very, very attractive and appealing. Therefore, we've targeted having a theater, first class of its own, then also museums. Because the current occupant of the Golden Stool is the 16th. He is the 16th occupant of the Golden Stool, meaning that 15 has come and go. So we need to have places where we can showcase the things that we stand for. There's one important history which we need to have a bigger place where we can showcase for the whole world to come and see. It's about the Gold Coast. It's about before Ghana obtained an independence. You know, Ghana, our colonial masters is that of the British, but we were not part of that story.
Right.
Because we have never been enslaved. Because we were there, we were a kingdom. So rather, we contributed in supporting the current Ghana to have independence. When the nation was then called Gold Coast. It was called Gold Coast because we have gold in abundance. But the first mine, that is Obuasi mine, is from this region, Ashanti region.
The first gold mine?
Yeah, it's from Ashanti region. So it tells you we have a history to tell. And the war between the Ashantis and the British. You know, Ashantis fought the British more than 4 times.
Yeah, we went to the military museum.
So we have a lot of history to show. But this is just the way. I have a lot to tell. Honestly.
I understand. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
First of all, I got 2.5 million followers, so trust me, they'll see your story.
Thank you.
See, there you go. I got you. All right, Mr. Mayor, we'll get a photo.
After talking with the mayor, then it was time for the tour of the gorgeous cultural center.
This is the traditional bathroom setup for the king. It is against the Asante custom for the bare foot of the king to touch the ground. If the bare foot of the king touches the ground, it's a sign of bestowment. That means he will no more be the king. So when the king is bathing, he has to sit on the stool, put his feet on elephant tusk, that's the ivory, to show his authority. These are the buckets for his water. We have the local sponge, local soap, local towel made from plantain fiber, and the local cream, shea butter. But now the king does no more use them. But the tradition of his barefoot not to touch the ground is still maintained.
Wait a minute, so when he take a bath, he still
got to be on top of it.
I thought you just want to sit in the bathtub and just soak and just relax. You know, like by himself with nobody looking at him with his feet going.
No, nobody should see the king barefooted. So if he's alone, nobody sees him.
Okay, he can do what he wants.
Yes, that's why here, if you are a chief or a king and your people want to distill you, that is what they will do. They will lift you up in public, move your sandals, and that will be the end of your throne. So if you are a king or a chief, you need to wear your shoes tight.
That's wise.
The traditional kitchen setup for the king. Here, women do not cook for the king because of jealousy and menstrual periods of women. Talking of jealousy, the Asante king is allowed to marry as many wives that he wishes. So if the wives are many and one cooks for the king, she can decide to put something in the food, not to kill the king, but to make the king love her more than the other wives. And for menstrual
So that means she cook better?
Men, yes, they do.
No, I'm saying, but if that woman cooks better than the other women, then she becomes his favorite?
No, she puts something in it.
Doing the cycle.
Voodoo.
Juju. She can put something in the food.
That ain't no different than if you back in the United States and you got a woman who know how to cook, you gonna pick her over them other women.
Not that she from South Carolina, because she cooking spaghetti. That's it.
You stupid.
What you know
And
about
from
that? So how many wives does this king have?
The current king has only one legal wife that I showed you.
Legal wife.
He has several traditional wives. Several traditional wives in the sense that he has to take care of his predecessors' wives. So they are all seen as wives for the king. But he has only one legal wife.
So the previous king, so what, he takes care of them when they die, or does it matter?
When they die. Because
Gotcha.
unless a king dies, you cannot appoint a new king.
So when those kings died, if their wives, so essentially their first ladies are still living, the new king takes care of them.
We take care of them financially.
Gotcha.
And
It just
What other ways he take care of them?
sorry,
What other ways he take care of them?
that like giving them money.
her mind.
You talking about do they have?
No, I want to know that he really take them as a wife, like
Yes,
sexually and everything.
No.
He could get other wives like that though.
He has his own sexual wife and
His legal
others.
wife.
Yeah, that's the legal wife.
Oh, but he can't get like several.
No.
Like some chiefs have different
But
wives.
he can do that. He wants to marry more. He can.
But they'll be called traditional wives.
Traditional wives.
But he has one legal wife.
One legal wife.
Got it.
But
All
if
right,
you
so
want
this
the
is the
traditional-
kitchen.
It's the kitchen.
So who cooked for the king?
Only men.
Only men. Well, all the men in my family can cook. So only men cook for the king.
So only men cook for the king, and this tradition is still maintained. And when they are cooking, they have a chief cook. The chief cook will sit and supervise the cooking.
Right.
When the cooking is done, the chief cook has to taste the food and sit down for about 30 minutes. If nothing happens to him, then the king will come and eat it.
Oh, so he
The
has
chief
to.
cook will die first.
Oh, well, just like for the president of the United States, there's a person who tastes the food of the president before the
The
president
same
eats.
thing.
Yes.
And this tree here is called wisdom tree. It is planted in front of the king's palace to tell visitors that when they get to the palace, they should speak wisely, because we have only wise people, that is people with gray hair. So when you get in there, you speak wisely to them.
Yeah, they're gonna grind out for the crowd.
Just so you know.
So let's turn and look at this chamber. Any of these symbols could be found on top of the king's umbrella to determine where the king is going. This is a horn. It's a symbol for war. Thumbs up, symbol for leadership. A bird which has turned the neck backwards. The local name is Sankofa. It means go back to your roots or trace your ancestries. Then pineapple. 2 hairs are better than 1. It is always better to work as a team than to work individually or alone. Fertility dogs, given to barren women in the olden days for them to treat it like their own baby. And when they do that, they could also become fertile and give birth to their own children if they only have faith in it. Please, let's look in the case. Leather bags for keeping gunpowders and smaller weapons for war. The 2 shotguns were the guns Ashantis captured from the British. The long one is a French made gun for hunting and for war. Shackles for war prisoners, executioner's knives. The rest are war dresses. We have the same war dress here.
Asante war dresses?
Yes.
Got it.
For the war leader, and they are bulletproof because of the charms and amulets in them.
Wow.
In the olden days, the kings were drinking from these pots. Their soup were kept in these ones.
Soup?
Soup.
Okay.
This is a treasure bag made of elephant skin. It was made by the traditional priest who brought the golden stool from the sky. When he made the bag, he warned Asantis never to open it because it contains the spirit of Asantis. And he said that the day that this bag will be opened, the Asante kingdom will fall. So for more than 300 years now, this bag has never been opened and no one knows what is in.
Wow. That's 300 years old?
Yes, more than 300 years.
It's never been opened?
No, nobody knows what is inside. And
Wow.
we are not curious about it because we don't want the kingdom to fall.
Man, I'm kind of curious, but I hear you.
What people speculate of it?
We don't know. Some
Yeah,
are
I don't
saying
even wanna know.
no.
Don't know. Okay. Wow.
And this is the fake golden stool Asantis used to deceive the British. Asantis made this one with copper and they plated it with gold. And because the British had never seen the original one before, they didn't know how it actually looked like. So they accepted this, took it to their country, and later found out that it was just plated with gold. So they removed the gold and brought this one back and fought with the Asantis.
You can take that back to TSA and we can find out real quick.
This one? Serving tray for the king, cream containers for the king. And these are caskets for keeping gold dust for the king. In the olden days, we didn't have camera for taking photos. So when a person in the royal family dies, they just look at the dead person's face, then use clay to mold a face like the person for remembrance. Design calabash to serve the king with cola nuts. Smoking pipes for smoking tobacco. Flint stone, when one is strike against the other, it brings out fire. Rock incense, they are burnt in the palace to drive away evil spirits. Gold rock, from which we get gold ore. And then grinding stone for grinding pepper and other spices in the olden days. And these are gold weight and scales for weighing gold dust in the olden days. Cowrie shops. Cowries were used as money in the olden days. And the local name for it is cedie. So they use the name cedie for the currency we are using now, which is cedis. So that's how we got the name cedis from. Traveling bag for the king. Tobacco pouches for the king.
It's a bag?
Yes.
Wow.
That's the traveling bag for the king in the olden days.
Wow.
It's beautiful. This is a funeral urn. When a Santa king dies, they cut some fingernails of members in the royal family, shave their hairs, put it in the pot and bury it with the king to show that their spirits are with the king and that they're going to stay with him wherever he is going. The Ashantis believe there is still life after death. That is why over here, when the king dies, you can never say the king is dead, but we say the king has traveled to the village.
So, so when the king dies, no one sees his body?
No, they have a place. They have the place, special place that they bury the king, and we are not supposed to go there. It's only the royals who have the power to go there.
No, it's like what I'm saying. So when the king dies, it's not like it's a wake. You can go see the king's body.
About a week.
Okay.
And then we have shovel for separating gold from sand. When we get the gold, they put it in the brass fish. There is a pot here. This pot belongs to one Asante woman who gave birth to 30 children. And yes. And even that she was still adopting more children. And this woman died out of hunger. So this is one thing that we got from her, and it has been placed here to tell Africans to give birth to the number of children they can take good care of.
That hungry, she had to feed all them kids.
So we move on to the next chamber. The 8 animals here represent the 8 clans or the 8 families of the Akan ethnic group in Ghana. Ghana is divided into 4 ethnic groups. Akan is one of them and is the largest, in which the Asantis are found. And they all practice matrilineal inheritance. So we have the vulture family, the crow, bat, leopard, eagle, and this is the family of the Asante king and the queen. We have the parrot. That's us. Yes. We're part of the parrot family. The four. We are a part of the Cape Coast. Cape Coast. Which clan is that? Which clan? Parrot. Okay. Then we have the buffalo. That is mine, because that is where my mother comes from. Okay. Then we have the dog family. This one? Yes. Oh, okay. Aku. Yeah. So your family is Abuna, and they are represented by the Aku. Kente cloths, the most expensive cloth used by the Asantis. Every kente has a name, and their names are given by those who weave them. And also have the Dinkra cloths. A Dinkra means to say farewell to a dead person. So at first, they were making them black because of the name for funerals only, and they later introduced these brighter colors for other occasions. Sandals for the king, black for funerals, the wooden one when it rains to prevent the king's feet from getting muddy, and the gold ones for special occasions like festivals. Ceremonial swords to protect the king, swords to protect the king's wives, to drive men away from them, so it serves as warning to men.
Desmond, it's a sword to keep the men away. It's a sword to keep the men away.
Okay. Protective charms for the king, bracelets for the queen. This one is for the court crier, the one who maintains order in the palace. Betrothal staffs given to women who were engaged to the king, to carry it to wherever they go, so that no man can propose to them again.
How do they propose to how does the king propose to his wife? Just like traditional way?
Yes, traditional way. Sometimes he can tell people to go to that particular house and seek the house of the woman.
Oh, so it's not like they court. It's not like they date.
No.
So this king ain't never dated his
He
wife?
got married before he became a king. He married a woman at the United Kingdom before he became a king.
Okay, she was like, you ain't going nowhere, I'm here.
A replica stool of King Pt.5. Then an infant chair of the immediate past king, King Opokuwari II. When he was an infant, a priest prophesied that one day he'll become a king. So they made this small chair for him. When he grew up, it came true, so they bought a smaller one.
Speak it into your children's life.
This stool and brass pan were captured by the Asantis in the 1600s when they fought and defeated a tribe in the central region of Ghana called Dentra. Asantis were subjects to the people of Dentra. So every year, Asantis were filling this pan with gold dust and they would carry it to the king in Dentra. The king later demanded for the favorite wives of all the Asante kings. And they said, you know, we cannot serve you with gold and bring you our wives as well. So Asantis fought with them, defeated them, captured this stool and brass pan as a form of their independence. Spittoons for the king. That is what the king spits into when he chews cola nuts. Our reward. This is a game. And this particular one was designed for King Pt.5 when he was exiled to the Seychelles Island 2010. So when he was coming back, he brought it back. Dining table for the queen. The oldest cloth used by the Asantis, we call it chen cloth, got from the bark of a tree called chen. At first, kente were black and white before these brighter colors were introduced. Then on top are Edinkra symbols. Number one is 2 crocodile patterns with 1 stomach. In the course of eating, they struggle for the food. It's a symbol for unity in diversity. And we have the moon and the star, symbol for faithfulness or fidelity. This one is for the queen. She also be carried out by 4 strong men. She will sit here and her feet will be kept here. These
She has no cover like the king?
She has this. This will provide shade for her.
Ah, got it.
Fanning her.
Those are some huge fans.
Yes.
Okay.
These tall drums are played for the king to give him praises. 1 rib bone and the vertebral bone of an elephant to show the mightiness of the Asante king. Brass pans used as wardrobes for keeping the king's clothing. Then we have royal funeral drums played for royals only. But if you are not from the royal family and the drum is played, you want to dance to the tune of it. You cannot dance with your handkerchief. You cannot dance with your sandals or slippers on. You need to remove them. If a man have your cloth on your shoulder level, you have to bring it to your waist level to show respect for the drum. Then talking drums for sending messages in the olden days. Calabash drums played for the king to make him walk majestically. How the drum is played will determine how the king will walk, whether fastly or slowly. And these are language staffs. This is corn. We are saying that when there is corn, there is no hunger, because varieties of food can be produced out of corn. And this is jiname, which means except God. The last one here shows the innocence of a child. A war drum covered with leopard skin. In the past, when Asantis were going for war, they go with a lot of these drums, so that in case they find their war very tough, they will just hide in the bush and play the drum. When the drum is played, it sounds like leopard. So the enemies will think leopards are coming, they will all run away, and Asantis will deceive them. And it is played by scratching the surface.
Wow.
No, to make it sound like the enemy, they play this in the woods to make the enemy think it's lions, so the enemy to run away. Oh, hold on, let me get the drum.
Crazy.
Our people are so smart. Hold on, let me get
How old is this drum?
More than 100 years.
Can you
Wow.
do that one more time again?
Here it goes, please. That's crazy.
I thought you was playing the audio.
She said,
Wait, it comes from my dad. Sorry?
It's covered with leopard skin.
Covered with leopard skin.
So when we play, it sounds like leopard.
So she said when they would go to war, she said this is a war drum. So when they would go to war, they would hide in the bushes and they would play that sound to make the enemy think that there were animals in the bushes.
Honey, we went on a canopy walk in the rainforest. If I heard that, I would have been running away.
So that was the secret of the Asantis.
So those, they didn't beat those.
No, if you beat it, you will not get a sound. No, we won't get a sound.
But if you scratch, wow. This is
my people ain't amazing. My people is like
crazy.
And then it comes from a leopard.
So this is a war drum, and those.
Talking drums.
Oh, that's how they communicated.
Message.
Okay, so that's the drum for the king.
The king praises.
Praises, but that's the drums
To make the king walk.
About how he walks.
Yes.
Majestic walk, slow or fast.
So with this.
That's genius.
Yes, it is.
That's genius.
Now this is what you were talking about, the education on the bus before.
That's what I'm saying. Formal education? No, that's.
Yeah, I didn't interpret it. Never to Facebook.
Okay, so with this, we come to the end of the
Well, now I want to know about the cloth bag.
Okay.
We are selling them.
Okay, that's the original, the king of cloth. That's what the queen would wear, or the queen mother wears.
Which one? These are printed.
Got it.
Those are printed ones.
Yes.
Those are
Queen
printed.
mothers wear the
woven ones.
Right.
Got it.
And that's the
All right.
woven ones over there.
Yes.
That's what I want.
Good job. Good job. Appreciate you coming down. Come on, baby.
How much are those?
All right. Like most places in Ghana, everything seems to be sold outside. And man, in Kamasi, it was unbelievable to see the kind of transactions and goods being sold every place on every street. Folks were selling things all over Kamasi, but it wasn't until they took me to the Kechatea Market that I was completely blown away. It was a massive, massive area where everything was being sold. When we visited, it was Christmas Eve, and the hustle and bustle of folks buying things for Christmas was on full display. And to stand on a second floor balcony and be able to look across this massive, massive market was a sight to see. The Kechatea Market is the largest open air market in West Africa.
So this is not the market?
No, this is just
This is the outer market?
Yeah, the outer market.
That's the market?
That is the market. This is the market.
Okay, so that new thing they're building, these people are going to move into that.
Oh, yeah. So hopefully by the next few years, if we go according to schedule, by the next 5 years, we won't see this anymore. Wow. Yeah.
So from this building right here,
Exactly. All the way, straight down. Not this way.
Yo, that's crazy. This is wild. Christmas Eve in Ghana. Now, when we were there, this is what it looked like. But then they were building a massive facility that could house upwards of 50,000 different stores. It opened in 2020. It was one thing to see it. It was another thing to experience it.
Okay, see, I don't know. Yes.
How much is this?
You do it by yard.
Yeah, how many yards is this?
Yes.
2 yards, 2 yards, 2 yards. Okay.
Light is not for your mom.
Yeah?
Okay, something light color? No. All this is, no, but see, this is Kechatea. So this is different from this material here. Yeah, Kechatea is more like a sweater.
It's 150.
Okay, well, I'll tell you
It's like a head wrap.
You can use that as a head wrap.
How much is it?
Tia 300. Tell me 900.
Tia 300.
I am about
30. 80 all town. 80, 90 cedi. David, wait there. When guy now what auto. If it's in the Sokra Mama.
You want to come in? What the address is just so.
Okay, Roland, I think we have to go back. Okay, yeah. Tomorrow, go to the home of Katie. Let's go.
Man, this whole, and we only saw a little piece of this market.
Exactly, just a little piece. It's not even 1% of the market.
Oh man,
not even 1%.
This is crazy.
Once we were done shopping in the Kechatea Market, I just had to get some sleep because the next day was Christmas and we had another full day in Ghana.